Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FOJC Radio Sunday Night Live. How thankful we are to be here once again, broadcasting over the airwaves the gospel of the kingdom and the doctrine of Christ. Welcome, each and every one of you. And I want to welcome tonight my co host, Mr. Brian Reese. I'm always so thankful to be able to work with Brian. And Brian, welcome once again to Sunday Night Live, the Stargate series tonight, looking through the Stargate, Tartarians in the Stargate. How are you doing tonight, Brian?
I'm doing good. Doing pretty good, David. Doing pretty good. I'm glad to be here. This is our fourth episode. I cannot believe it. Our fourth episode, man. This is going by so quickly. And here we are. We got, another couple hundred episodes to decode here in the Stargate SG1 series of that. So looking through the Stargate is going to be probably taking us into about 2045. We'll make it past the
Yeah.
singularity, David. We'll make it past the singularity. Still be doing these broadcasts if we're able to, even in those days and age here down the road. So I'm glad to be here. Super ecstatic about it always, and I welcome all walks of life to FOJC, where we're looking through the Stargate together here. The Tartarian concept. A lot of people love this topic, and I'm enjoying it very well myself. I've always loved to jump into some topography and looking into the ancient history and alternative history and stuff that's been hidden in the conspiracy realm. I wouldn't call it conspiracy, but I love all these things when it comes to topography in itself. So looking forward to it, Brother David, as far as especially where we're going to be comparing SG1 Stargate with this, and there's actually remnants of Tartarian concepts in this TV series. So I'm looking forward to this very much. Can't wait to jump into it tonight here on the FOJC.
Amen. And we want to welcome all of our new listeners. We're so thankful. And I could tell one new listener, why is he wearing 3D glasses? Well, Brother Reese, as our longtime listeners know, he had a very serious injury on his job as a milkman, and that's why he has an injury, why he wears those. But he doesn't let it slow him down. No, he doesn't. But we're so thankful for all of our new subscribers that are joining us. And we want to say that we are going to have, yeah, Johnny Kirk said you're an astronaut. There you go. But we're very thankful for all of you. And we want to announce we're going to have another event. Yes, we are. Our next FOJC radio event is going to be in Shelbyville, Kentucky, August 13th and 14th. I announced one speaker the other night, Mr. Dan Badandi, and well, you got to know Brother Brian is going to have to be there talking about all the things that are going on. There's nobody more cutting edge on what's going on in the UFO and than these matters than Brian. There just really isn't. But I'm excited, Brian, to be able to have another event where people can come together and gather the remnant. The last gathering at here in Tell City, we were able to make new friends. And we're just so thankful for that. And I'm thankful that you and your family and you'll be presenting here at this event in Shelbyville, August 13th and 14th.
Yeah, Dave, I'm looking forward to that. Our Passover event was very successful. Met a lot of the folks. I got tongue tied, but a lot of folks out here. Even we had some folks come out. We almost had some. What did they have? Didn't we have somebody come out of the country at the Passover event? Wasn't there one person?
Yeah,
I
Karen was from Australia
yeah, that's
and
right. And
come all the way from Australia, and the Morgan family all the way from Washington State.
that was a long
And
drive.
yeah, and and I'll reveal our third speaker. Callie will be speaking on From Buddhism to Christ, and we're going to have the entire registration form and schedule up here real quick. But plan to be there August 13th and 14th. But you know, Brian, it's great. It's a point of contact for people. A lot of people tell us that FOJC radio is their church. But I really feel led of the Lord that it's time for us to get out and actually meet people and gather that remnant together because truly our time is short. I believe that.
Yeah, and also with that facility that we've gotten in Shelbyville, Kentucky. you're not too far from Louisville. You're not too far from Lexington, Kentucky. So there's a lot there to look at. There's a lot of tourist attractions, a lot of just beautiful scenery. I've been there, done that, been all over the state of Kentucky, and Shelbyville, Kentucky is a very beautiful place in itself. But Louisville and Lexington, all kinds of different things to do. You know, if you're out of state, there's not a, let's just say, a shortage of things to do. So if it's your first time to Kentucky, you get to see me and Brother David on the stage talking about these matters that are come upon the earth. There's going to be a lot to talk about by August because with everything
boy.
that's been revealed here in the last few days. My goodness, I can only imagine what August is going to reveal in our crazy world. But we're looking forward to folks. I always like to see people and like to see a screen name with a smile and a face and be able to just have fellowship and have that human connection. There's a lack of human connection in this world, and we're going to try to sneak this one in before all the chaos in the world comes down the pike with all the different, let's just say, things that are going on the news networks and all that. But we're not going to go on to that narrative tonight. But I hope to get to see you guys at Shelbyville, Kentucky, and that's going to be a really good event, Brother David. The 13th and 14th, we're going to have a really good time.
Yeah,
I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
absolutely. Well, all right. Let's get into the broadcast this evening. We have a lot of material to talk about, some fascinating things, and we've been looking at the Stargate series, as we said, from the view of a documentary, as some whistleblowers have said. And it continues to amaze me the intricate concepts that are interwoven throughout this. And this evening, to be talking about the episode called Emancipation. And it deals with a group of people. They go through the Stargate and they find these Mongol people. And it's really fascinating. But you can set this episode up for the folks there and show them a shot of the Mongol leader there and set this up for them, Brian.
So what's interesting about this episode, and when me and Brother Dave was sitting there, the first two episodes, we actually got to sit down together and break bread and drink coffee and do everything there in the flesh and speak upon this matter. But we didn't really get the chance to do this episode together. But we did review it back and forth and go back and forth in our commentary on it. And what's interesting about this, I got a screenshot here up on the screen. This Mongol Tartarian concept here. And Daniel Jackson, you got, I forgot the general's name, and you got Sarah, I think her name is, what is her name, bro? They help me out here. I'm losing my mind here for a moment. It's, what's the young
Carter?
lady? It's Carter, excuse me. I always want to say Connor from
Yeah.
Terminator. Forgive me. I've got less coffee in my veins, folks. I've not had coffee for about 7 days, so give me a little break here. So when I thought about this and thought about the Mongol story and everything, and as far as what this is incorporated into the Stargate SG-1 series, it's kind of interesting. When they first go through the gate, there's a young man running. Okay, so here they are. You have General O'Neill, Daniel Jackson, and Samantha Carter. Excuse me. And they're going through there. They don't know what's happening. They just see this young man running down the field and getting chased by some folks and on horseback. Well, what happens all of a sudden, Mrs. Sarah, or Samantha, excuse me. I'm a little rusty tonight, folks, a little rusty. Samantha, and I'll show us, well, I don't have a screenshot of her yet, but Samantha Carter, shoots and kills one of the people that's trying to take this young man out. So it's interesting how it all sets up. They're puzzled because they can't really differentiate with the tactical gear because they all look like they're all military gear. So they did not know that Samantha Carter was a female. Well, their traditions and everything, as you can see here, the women are covered, and they didn't even know what really going on. Okay, so this is the chieftain, and David's going to talk about him here in a little bit about this. But what happened? This young man was in gratitude for her life, his life being saved by the young lady, Samantha Carter. But he didn't find out until she was a woman. He started losing his wits about him because he's like, I can't communicate with a woman if she's not covered, and I can't believe she helped me. But the technology at the beginning, I remember, David, he says, talking about the technology, what kind of weaponry do you have, and they go on and on and on, and they was trying to, his other men come up that is part of his tribe said, hey, we need to take out this Samantha Carter. There's, she's an outsider female. I thought it was interesting, David. Like, she was an outsider, and they was trying to possibly almost kill her or try to get rid of her. So until he said, "No, no, she saved me." And then when she said that, when he said that, they were like, "Okay, cool." And but the thing was, they had to do some type of ceremonial thing and everything to that set up. But the thing I want to point out, they go through the gate, and David, I know you're going to be talking about that here in a little bit to set the tone of the show. But when you're thinking about this, they come through the gate. They hadn't seen nobody come through the gate for a long, long time, for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Well, what's interesting, the man has not seen any other females, any kind of tribe or anything come through that Stargate or anywhere around his local area. So it was really profound to them to see somebody come through. But they was marveling after the technological advancements that the SG-1 team had been that they came through with the gate. So what's so interesting, David? They have technology here, but it's like primitive. It looks medieval, but they also have better tech in some cases more than SG-1. So it's really interesting how this is all playing out with the Tartarian concept. So I'll just give the floor back to you, David. But that's the kind of summarization of what we're shooting for here on this episode here of Stargate.
And a lot of people, when we say Tartaria, they don't really know what we're talking about. Um, and we're going to look here at the very first edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica. It was a 3 volume edition. And of course, we have a copy of it, quite a big thing. And it came out in 1771, 5 years before we became a nation. The first edition of Encyclopedia Britannica came out. And at that time, Tartaria was the largest country in the world. And I'll read a little bit. You might ask yourself, and that's not that far back in history, back at the same time when our country was founded. And in the study of history, we should have a grasp of what was going on in that time period. And yet, the largest country in the world is virtually unknown to many people. And that should really uh, provoke us to ask why. But I'll read a little bit from the 1771 article from the Britannica, and it says Tartaria, a vast country in the northern parts of Asia, bounded by Siberia on the north and west. This is called Great Tartary. The Tartars who lie south of Muscovy and Siberia, and those of Astrakhan, situated northwest of the Caspian Sea, the Kalmyk Tartars, who lie between Siberia and the Caspian Sea, and the Uzbek Tartars and Moguls, who lie north of Persia and India. And this is just a huge, huge area. And here again, I think it provokes the question, why don't we know about this? And I think we're going to bring forth some provocative reasons why. Whenever there is something, the old saying that history is written by the winners. And when people don't want you to know and focus on certain things, they have a way of kind of snipping that out, just like the good Freemasons from the Smithsonian gathered up all the giant bones in the Midwest and just put them away so no one will be reminded about that. Same thing here, and we're going to be asking why. And it's very interesting the way this Stargate episode lays this out. But Brian here has a map of Tartaria, and he's going to share that with you to give an idea of what a large area we're actually talking about here.
Well, as you can see on the screen, I'm going to show several slides of it here. The whole cover up of this, it's so profound, David. I mean, it's when you think about this, the way that has been supernaturally hidden and more human hidden, and I would say maybe the term systematic academic suppression of the largest land empire ever mapped. And we have elements of it. Okay, we have symbols, we have things that are the remnants of this lost ancient land empire. Okay, so when you're thinking about it and looking at it, there's all kinds of different topography out there. You can look online. There's so many things you can look for when it comes to Tartarian empire. And I wanted to share something here. I had in my notes that was kind of interesting. This one here, let me see here. I got the wrong. This one here means, let me see. Yeah, that's correct. This one means full world map, obviously, right? But it's interesting when you look at, like the way it's portrayed on these maps. It's like the plates have moved, Alaska's moved, all these different things are not exactly shaped like our traditional maps. And then also, there's another one here that is, I think, let me see. This one also means just the North American map when it looks at the American. I can't even pronounce it. Separatin Trinilius, I think it's how you pronounce it. Forgive me for my Kentucky language. But the North American map, there's all these depictions, and I always think when you look at the Russia narrative and the concept of that, you look at California. There's one map that's not showing up right now. That's why I'm getting tongue tied. I'm trying to get it to pop up here, but one of them shows the divide between California. There's like a great divide. Okay, so it's interesting how that's no longer there, supposedly. And the story is when you look at this, that I think it might be Fort Morgan, if I'm not mistaken, up there, up toward
Hmm.
Washington. That's a star fort, if I'm not mistaken, believe it or not. And that whole area is ties to Russia, that Russia owns this land. So it's kind of interesting how this is all tied and correlating with, you hear all the time, if they ever invaded us, that's where they would come through, is through Alaska. And it's just kind of strange how this is all playing out. But um, when I think about this, David, and I think about the Terranium, this large, this great Tartaria, this dominant power, okay, of world dominance. And we're looking at, Central Asia, Europe, and parts of North America, and Siberia. You have cities, you have kingdoms, and infrastructure shown, and the not really a barbarian wilderness like that's been portrayed throughout academia, that we came from cavemen. Okay, so it's interesting how this is all playing out as far as there's the story, the narrative with the UFO phenomenon, and I can show you how we can tie it all together here in a little bit when we get down deep into the woods of more commentary on this topic. But I'm just saying, modern maps now do not show this. Google Earth imagery does not show this. And suddenly it's just all of a sudden erased from historical documentation. An entire civilization, advanced civilization, completely wiped out of existence, and showing these similarities of countries that are still supposedly at war with each other. And we have ties that Russia has bigger ties to America than we know. So if there's something tied there with this ancient treaty or something to that magnitude that's still in the play, we don't know. But it's just interesting to speculate a little bit and say, hey, is there something here more profound than what we're missing? So when we're looking at these maps, I think it's interesting, David, to say when there's strategic mapping, like it'll have some other ones I have too, also have a map that wraps around the globe of the Google Earth imagery, and it shows different maps. I couldn't pull it up for some reason, so I didn't include it in our presentation. But it showed the Tartarian map with sea creatures, different soldiers
Yeah,
with different
I've
type of
seen that one.
knight's
Yeah.
armor, different types of knight's
Yeah.
armor. I mean, there's so much. It's called technological advancements, giants, mermaids, mermen, what have you. So it's interesting that we can't say that this never existed, because there's too much evidence stacked to the hilltops that knows that the Tartarian Empire existed. It's truly something to marvel at when you think about in today's history books that nobody teaches this. Indeed, but that's kind of my overall summary of this great Tartaria, this dominant world power.
Yeah. And it's not taught in secular history. You got to really dig this out. And for that reason, people that attempt to teach on Bible prophecy, they never filter Tartaria into the equation, and it's a huge part. And we know about the Greeks, we know about the Assyrians, the Romans, the Babylonians, but we don't know about the Tartarians, who were not that long ago the largest and most powerful nation in the world. And Brian's going to put up a picture here of Mr. Daniel Jackson. And there's a statement he makes in this episode that's just amazing. And the statement he makes is when he comes into this Mongol camp, he says, "This camp could have belonged to Genghis Khan, a way of life that has been extinct for 900 years." He's literally talking about a way of life, a civilization, and a technology that has been wiped out. And here they go through the Stargate and they see the civilization that has been obliterated, that doesn't exist anymore. And do we have any reason to believe, Brian, that there was actually a physical evidence of a civilization that has literally been obliterated, that has been, and you know, this comes into the concept of the mud flood. We've done broadcasts on the mud flood. But is there any sane reason for us to believe that there has been an entire civilization that not only has been removed from the map, but also have been removed by murder, assassination, and just downright falsification of the historical record?
Well, not to get too far off the topic of location, but even here in Kentucky, David, we've talked about this many times here on the channel. I have documents from the 1700s, 1800s talking about the Tartars, the Tartarian civilization. And this, guess what this is tied to? This is tied to giants, giants in cemeteries, giants in mounds. And we have a Tartarian Tartar mystery because they said that evidence of the Tartars was there, the evidence of the Chinese was there, the evidence of Egypt. It was different. It was 10 civilizations all packed into one location. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. But what I'm trying to articulate here is something of an ancient antiquity, that these sites had ancient significance. And when I think about the Mongols that are literally called the Tartars, I think about, I think if I'm not mistaken, like a 13th century eyewitness. I had something that I read today, accounting of a highly organized, advanced peoples, right? Superior military tactics, metallurgy, and governance. Okay. So it's almost like, and they're not really, they wasn't primitive folks like I was alluding to earlier, like what you see on the TV show, right? And I know I got another clip here where the individual was walking in after Daniel Jackson was making that comment about 900 years that they've been extinct. So, so the metallurgy and governance, not primitive hordes, and then you have this literally Western uh, something about the chroniclers being deliberately demonized from them to justify this erase, like this great, let's just say something had wiped this whole place out of existence. So why is the elements of giants, you have cryptids, we could talk about this all day, why is all this evidence being buried? And just like we talked about on one of the Stargate episodes here, we talked about the Sphinx, the hidden Sphinx. It's underneath a mound of dirt over in Egypt. And they found that in the Khafre project. They found a big, large amount of mounds of dirt. And there's a Sphinx underneath the ground. It's the same principle here when we're looking at Tartarian and Tartars. And why is our Western culture here in North America not knowing what's what? And we've talked about it verbatim, like we've exasperated it. I mean, we've lost ourselves into antiquity so much on this channel, David. When we got into Atlantis and Lemuria, we talked about many sites here in Kentucky that just don't really look at your whole concept of academia, what they've taught throughout the years. And I think, David, that we've had so much significance of Tartarian, it's just been fragmented. It's just been torn apart, spit out every which way, every direction, and before you know it, you got a compilation of insanity. Like you don't have anything that's written down that's anything that's got value to it because it's all defragmented. And it's worrisome because then you're thinking, well, if they hid this from us, what else have they hidden? But then I think about what other bloodlines and what continued on, who continued on, and how did they get suppressed? And this knowledge, where they no longer continue the tribes, why didn't they continue on teaching it? And it must have to do with the higher power. There must be somebody involved that is literally changing the dynamic and suppressing this technology. And I know with the UFO files and everything dropped, I would have to say, Bro David, that there's been a lot of things kept under the rug and kept in the darkness. And I think things are getting revealed. And I know we've revealed many things on this channel, but this whole Tartar concept, the whole Tartarian reality is there is documentation that you can go back in just this state alone and look. So if it's in this state, it's in every state all the way out to California. It's just got to be. There's no way around that. So my thing was, when I thought about that they had superior military tactics, metallurgy, and governance, it's almost like that story of Enoch when you're thinking about the angels that landed on Mount Hermon, what they taught. They taught metallurgy, government, governance, all these different things. And it's like we have a pattern here. And what do these individuals know? What was advanced technology? What was they communicating with? Is there something from a higher above, or is it something like this TV series here is depicting? Was there an ancient portal that opened up and you had people coming through and giving them knowledge, just like this TV show is depicting? There's
Yeah.
these white people coming through, and then coming through, having this experience that they're coming together as a tribe and showing this technology. It kind of resonates with me, Brother David, with the white. There's these great whites, tall people that has been kind of let's just say integrated into our culture with the Native American culture that taught them the arts, all these different special things of astronomy, etc., the cosmos. It kind of makes you wonder what we're dealing with here. Is this really this TV show depicting an ancient gate of some shape or form that individuals, entities, or whoever coming forth and showing and giving information and having this ritual, this bride ceremony, like I was alluding to earlier with Samantha Carter? She actually, I think they had to try to marry her, didn't they? Didn't they try to marry her in this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. It's like a special woman comes through, and then they take the wives that they chose. It's almost like the Genesis 6 narrative, almost. It almost is. It feels like that to me, but I digress. I'll move on here. But there you go, David. That's kind of where I'm at with all this.
And when they kidnapped, the Mongols kidnapped Samantha and was going to marry her. And to get her back, they gave the leader a gun, and he didn't know what a gun was. Now here we have the concept. Here are the Mongol people, and someone comes through the Stargate and gives them technology from another world. And of course, he was shooting the gun off in the air, this technology he received. And I believe that one of the reasons why Tartaria was obliterated, and a lot of these people, I believe, turned up in insane asylums and on orphan trains and here in America. And they had technology in their architecture that was able to manipulate vibrations. The same is true of the Gothic cathedrals that were built with the Templars. And they understood the way to use vibrations. Now, vibrations is a huge thing that's going to be used by the evil one. And we were talking about the pineal gland last week. And our pineal gland reacts to vibration and electromagnetic frequency. And they knew how to build these buildings to amplify that. They would build the buildings, and they knew how to build them upon ley lines to magnify the earth energy. They built them according to the astronomical alignments to be able to harness power. And I think this is one of the big reasons why they're not around anymore. And we're going to actually be showing here in just a little bit the actual Russian historian that, like Brian showed on the map there, a lot of these maps of Tartaria actually include the western part of the United States. And the Russian historians actually believe that Tartaria was stolen that part of Tartaria was stolen from Russia by the United States in 1776. It's very interesting. And this is a fellow that most certainly Mr. Putin knows. But I want to read here from a book. It's called The Deeper State by Robert McGinnis. And when we think about globalism, if I would ask, who are the big names in globalism? We would, a lot of people, a lot of names we could throw out there that are big movers and shakers. But probably one of the names you wouldn't throw out there is Genghis Khan. But I'll read here from Mr. McGinnis's book, The Deeper State. And he says this on page 109. There are a host of other historical figures who compete for the title of father of globalism, such as Alexander the Great and a number of Roman Caesars. Perhaps one of the most successful ancient globalists was the Mongolian warrior Genghis Khan. He was one of the history's most barbaric and genocidal conquerors. His empire was vast, stretching from Asia to the Middle East, and his administration skills were brilliant. He facilitated international trade, used passports and credit cards, created a public school system, and a primitive postal service. And what most people think of when they think of the Mongols, if they do it all, they think of a people that are probably pretty stupid and just real barbaric. Far from it. They were brilliant. They possessed technology that I believe they had somehow come across. And maybe just like in the SG-1 series, maybe someone came to a Stargate and gave them some knowledge. And it appears to be the case from the way they were able to construct their architecture in such a way to magnify vibrations. And many of it was done to precipitate healing. But in Genesis chapter 10, beginning in verse 8, we know the story of Nimrod. And Cush begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, where it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. Well, let's do a little comparison here. And I want to read from a book. It's called The Story of the Mongols, whom we call the Tartars. And in this book, I'll read here from page 55. When you see a similarity, just wave at me. It says there was a man in the Yeka Mongol country called Genghis. He started as a great hunter by the grace of God. He incited men to steal and plunder and went into foreign lands. It says Akoti Khan, the son of Genghis Khan, built a city after he was enthroned as emperor, and he called it Emil. And this is wild. It says it is near a great wasteland where it is said that the forest people live who are mute and do not have knees. Now, what in the world that's about, I don't know. But there's a similarity. And they're the not only are there similarities that we cannot dismiss as a coincidence? But the important thing is, how did Genghis Khan and Attila the Hun see themselves? And they saw themselves, and I'll read a little bit here from a book. It's called Attila, King of the Huns and His Predecessors, a historical treatise. And it says here, in the campaign of 442, Attila asserted that he had possessed himself of the ancient iron sword, which from the earliest recorded time had been the god of the Scythians. And this is just so reminiscent of so many things. You have the legend of the King Arthur and the sword, and the hammer of Thor. And it goes on to say the era of Attila was marked by a very general expectation of the revelation of Antichrist. It has already mentioned that it was prophesied in his youth that he was to be some great one, by which expression is meant a divine incarnation. And this isn't something he ran from. This is something he embraced. He embraced the concept that he was the biblical Antichrist, and that was a good thing. And beyond that, It says here the title which he assumed is said to have been Attila, grandson or rather descendant of the great Nimrod, murdered in Engaddi by the grace of the king of the Huns. And he believed himself to be a descendant of Nimrod. And we cannot fail to appreciate the way that this entire people group and country has been erased from history when they were so powerful. They were the most powerful people on earth at various periods of time. And they believed themselves to be the biblical antichrist. So, Brian, there are just things here and similarities, the way that they associated themselves with Nimrod and the New World Order, that will be remiss if we overlook this.
So let me get this straight. He was an advanced bloodline. Okay, let me think about this too. And if my
Yes,
memory serves me correct on Attila, he was a military genius. Okay, is from what I remember, and I think Rome and Europe they was scared of him, if I'm not mistaken.
very,
And
very big
and
time.
and then on a technological stance of it, there's a lot of talk about him literally being the superior of Tartarian civilization, and then also Attila he wasn't a barbarian type of person, was he? Because I'm the way I remember reading about him that he was literally he passed on the tradition of the Great Tartaria, like you mentioned earlier, but the Huns, and I think he did these conquests and was able to have kind of like the Knights of Templar. We talked about bending of the metal. I think he um, had some type of special bow and some type of technological leap way beyond his time, and he dominated the lands. So this basically what I'm getting at is a major military presence, and basically and having a high IQ and military uh, so-called domination. And then you have this maybe a final reset. Is that what I'm hearing here, David? Like with Attila, like he was bringing forth the destruction, but had technology. And is he? There's so much here we could dive into, but I'm seeing the same thing once again. You have Nimrod concept, we have Antichrist, we have Genesis 6. We have all these correlations leading back to ancient antiquity, and these things tied to the angelic powers too. They're daddies, and then you have these great Gilberine, these great giants, these great Raphaim, Nephilim. They are coming to existence and setting up shop and dominate with military force. Is that what I'm hearing with Attila here, David? I mean, is that what I'm hearing?
And we could call them barbarians in the sense that they were vicious, they were cruel, they could kill you in the worst of ways. They were not to be not to be fooled with. And they were ungodly. They were shamans. They were into the black arts. But we cannot call them barbarians in the sense that they were just dumb. They were anything but dumb. They were vicious, they were cruel, they were shamanistic, and they were also extremely intelligent.
Hmm.
There was a method to their madness. When we think of these people as just a bunch of dumb bunnies, they were not. They were brilliant. And the things they accomplished, they had to be brilliant to do that. And I believe part of that brilliance came from knowledge that was passed down to them, that of antediluvian architecture, the same kind of secrets that were possessed by the Knights Templar.
I have a question, David. So we know the whole story of Enoch, and we know about the disembodied spirits, the giants. Once they laid their life down, their bodies are disembodied spirits, and they walk around going to and fro. They can't go to hell, can't go to heaven. They're just roaming the earth. Well, this Attila figure was or is he in that category when he was slain? Does he still roam the earth? And I have some more to talk about. Do you have an answer for that, Brother David? Has there any documentation that Attila, his spirit lives on through some type of crazy civilization conqueror, whatever? I mean, is there anything to that?
Well, I couldn't definitively answer that. We do definitively know that Nephilim do not rise. And if they were a Nephilim, um, that their spirit would roam the earth. We don't know they are, but we do know that they themselves believe their bloodline went right back to Nimrod, and that's getting pretty Nephilim right there.
Good
So
point.
it's not we can't definitively answer that, but certainly the spirits that motivated these Tartarians, they're certainly alive and well, and we can see that spirit moving and being a tremendous instrument in Bible prophecy.
Well, speaking of spirit and moving, not to go too long winded here, but this is a good part to plug this in. This is not even
Yes,
scripted.
sir.
We wasn't even going to go here, but we're going to go here.
There you
Tilla,
go.
these these Gilbarim, these ancient entities, these deities. David, I see this uptick with AI. Okay, these AI facilities. Okay, so you spoke about these cathedrals earlier, about the Tartarian empire, the vibratory vibration harmonics. They could change things, alter things, and there's something you forgot to mention: the mud floods. We did a really cool show here on FOJC a couple years ago talking about
Hmm.
mud floods and mud fossils. My theory on this is because I've read a lot about the mud floods and different testimonials about this. There's testimonies out there talking about there was this sound, and this sound, it started swallowing up teepees, the
Yeah.
Indians, everything, right? And there was this large wave of mud. Okay, and it was just basically captivated. The people were just captivated by it. They didn't even, they some people was frozen. The story was they was frozen in fear because they've never seen mud like that. It was water, usually from some type of tornado or cataclysm or weather phenomenon. But they seen I've heard anywhere from a couple, like almost 100 foot of mud. So my question is, David, you have this vibration, you have this stirring of this mud, it's burying all this technology, it's burying all these people. Well, David, the word on the street now is with these AI centers. This is the word on the street. People and researchers out there are saying that these AI centers are being built strategically on these locations, these ley lines, and they're bringing forth these spirits. Like, take it for what it is. I'm not the one that said it. There's somebody else out there said it, and they're claiming that these AI centers are conjuring up these spiritual applications, and once they're released upon the earth, there's nothing we can't do anything about it, and it's almost like that's what's happening. They're spending trillions of dollars, and you have to ask yourself, are they bringing back this Tartarian civilization through a different way? That's just where I'm at, David. I'm thinking they're going to bring it forth with these technological advancements of the AI, and they're going to be able to take the molecular scale and scale it all back up and use technology to either use mud again and so basically bury everything and reset. I don't know. Is there something here, David, that they're really to ponder on? Is there some connection that these ancient deities, these spirits, or territorial spirits are coming through these gateways, and this is the way they're going to once again reside with us here on Earth? I mean, this is crazy to say, but that's kind of where I had to go with this when we was talking about Attila and these Tartarian and the ley lines. I'm just thinking, David, there's too many coincidences here, too many, so many.
Well, we can say without fear of contradiction that the entire AI scenario is rampantly demonic, that I believe it's employing fallen angel technology. I believe it is bringing back things that is very ancient and trying to blend the new with the old to uh, bring the world to a final place of dominance and control by the elites. And in the Tartarian, they were the masters of being able to use architecture to enhance vibration and sound. And we were talking last on the last broadcast, I believe, or maybe it was Friday night, but I was talking about the pineal gland. And our pineal gland, there's no proof that it actually causes um, hallucinations or visions, but I really believe it does. I believe this goes back to the most ancient time. This has been the tradition from time immemorial of cults and secret societies. But I would not pray for God to close our pineal gland. Our pineal gland was created by God and properly used, it gives us communication with God. But I would pray to close the third eye. When people open their third eye, literally you open a demonic portal into your mind, and you literally give devils access to your being. And in the book of Revelation, it talks about the servants of God that are sealed in their foreheads. And I believe that the time will come where God's people who are tuned in to Christ and sealed, and the Holy Spirit is our seal. If we are in communication with the Most High God and we have prayed and kept ourselves from these things of defilement, God is going to preserve his sealed remnant. But there will be a time when mankind at large, they literally are going to be overcome by this, and they're literally going to become servants to this technology that can do things to human beings that are absolutely overwhelming. And certain individuals are getting tastes of this right now. But the answer to this is setting ourselves apart totally unto Christ, to where our body and our mind is in communication with God. And everybody has a frequency, and everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And this is just like Tesla when he made his earthquake machine. When he matched a frequency with that of a building, it almost brought it down. And there's just so much here. But the bottom line is, I think that that could be why Tartaria was wiped out. This could be why we've seen certain individuals that have died here recently, that they're coming very close to implementing their plan of domination of people through technology. And there are certain things that they don't want to be known ahead of time. But that's kind of where I'm at, Brian. I think that right now people need to get in tune with God. They need to pray for that third eye to be closed and pray for that pineal gland to be cleansed and to be set apart to Christ and Him only.
Well said, David. Well said. I could say more, but that was well said. That was well said, David. I think this whole thing is going to be a digital prison, but with the powers that be that are roaming the earth. I think the disembodied spirits are interconnectedly tied with this great technological advancements that we have. I think there's nothing new in the sun. I think it's all the same dance, just repackaged, and I think we're going to be subjected to that very soon. I think it's going on now, but I think it's going to be really turning up the temperature gauge here in 2027, definitely, in my opinion.
Amen. Now I want to read a little bit here from a Russian historian, Anatoly Fomenko. And I'll just say that Mr. Fomenko is a wild child. Uh, he's a historian, and he isn't a Christian, and he doesn't like Christianity. He's very cruel unto our Lord and in his writings. He is very spiritually toxic. He is, however, an out of the box thinker, and a lot of the stuff you if you know the Lord, you have to dismiss. But he is not afraid to go where others will not go, and he's just one of them type of guys that he's very, very intelligent, and if you can spit out the seeds, there's some really wild stuff there. But something I want to share, and I actually, you can look at when Mr. Fomenko was teaching. He taught in Leningrad, and Mr. Putin was there at the same time. And Mr. Putin has spoken how he is a fan of history. And it's all, I can't prove it, but I would almost guarantee certainly Mr. Putin knew of Mr. Fomenko, and he probably knew him personally. If I would have to take a choice, I would bet he did know him. But I want to read a little bit from what just a couple things here from his book. This is his book. It's called History, Fiction, or Science. And he says here, and he says Muscovite Tartaria with the capital in Tobolsk and thrice as large at 3 million plus square miles. Volume 2, page 638. He says Muscovite Tartaria is the largest country in the world, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. And there again, he brings out, what we have already reiterated. Here we have the biggest country in the world. Why does nobody know about it? And he goes on to say here, this is on page 328. He said the formation of the United States in 1776 and the annexation of the American territories of the Muscovite Tartaria. And their claim is that in 1776, we annexed Tartaria, which is now California in the western part of the United States. It says the above means that the United States of America were founded spontaneously in 1776, compromising the American fragment of the great Mongolian Empire, namely the American part of Muscovite Tartaria. This circumstance was never recorded in any history textbook. The topic must have been tabooed initially and then forgotten altogether. Independence from British rule became the official version. And there's a lot could be said, about what our relationship with England and the Royals really is. That's another whole topic we could talk about. But Brian is going to show a photo here of a young man that has recently passed away. His name is David Wilcock. And Mr. Wilcock, in his book, it's really amazing. Not very many people have read um, and Anatoly Fomenko. But in an entire chapter in his book, he analyzes Fomenko's timelines of history and tries to come up with some very interesting things that relate to prophecies of the end of the world. But Mr. Wilcox and Brian, I'll let you set it up for the folks. Talk about the recent death of Mr. Wilcox and why many people believe he was murdered.
Well, there's a lot of speculation on that, and a lot of folks out there, and I know some people that know some people that know him, and they know him personally. And the day that this horrifying news came out that he had lost his life, according to the account, there's a something we can't say here on YouTube, but apparently he lost his life to his own hands. Let's just use that terminology. And there's a lot of speculation online. A lot of people out there, you know how people are. They always try to take advantage of when somebody passes away, and I'm totally against that. I just despise that with all being of my humanity, and I just don't get behind that kind of thing when somebody tries to capitalize and make money off of somebody that passed away that's famous or well known. It was really interesting, David. There was a lot of audio out. There was a lot of weirdness with it. But according to the account, that he lost his life by his own hands, unfortunately. And here's the interesting the tie-in, though. There's a lot of stories going on with the UFO phenomenon, UFO technology. Let's just say advanced technology for propulsion systems, advanced tech. Let's just say things that can get you in trouble talking about in some shape or form. Scientists missing. They even, David was claiming that Mr. Wilcock was involved with that or some shape or form, and saying that he was directly tied in some shape, which is totally not really been proven. But I will say there was some eerie similarities with the scientists that have been either missing or lost their lives. David Wilcock has a very interesting, let's just say, bio, a different, let's just say, repertoire of interesting stat sheet of his credentials. He was a director of a aviation of space age, so to speak, advanced technologies with metamaterials, propulsion systems. He was part of that with some type of space connection. I'm trying to wordplay it the best I can because I protect the channel and just for the safety of all walks of life, because this has been a very sensitive topic. So I thought that was really weird that he had ties to secret space, advanced technology with propulsion and metamaterials, David. It kind of is very eerie because it matches the similarities with the other folks, with the scientists. So there's so many connections here And he's written a lot of books. I know David's going to be talking about that are very intriguing, to say the least. But David, the whole thing with the tie-in with the advanced technologies, and he was a director of that. That was very, very compelling to me, sir. Very compelling. And then he met his demise, just at I think the age of 53. And it's just strange how there's these mysterious situations where people are gone missing, they've lost their lives, and they're all tied to some type of advanced technology. So I don't know if it's a coincidence, David, here in 2026, but in 2026 things have came off the rails. But David Wilcock has lost his life, and he's no longer with us. But he did write some interesting books. But that direct tie-in with those propulsion systems, like I said, the word would be compelling, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's just it really caught my eye. And we were having a conversation on the phone about Mr. Wilcock, and for my opinion, which is just that, my opinion, I don't believe that Mr. Wilcock committed suicide. I would lean toward the idea, for many reasons, that he was murdered. And of course, that's just my opinion. But I wondered, as Brian and I were talking on the phone about this, just deeply fascinating. And he was also on Ancient Aliens. He's on Ancient Aliens a lot. But I wondered, if he was murdered, what did this guy know and what was he talking about that somebody would want to silence him? And that night I ordered three of his books off Amazon, real cheap used copies, and I told Brian tomorrow they were not going to be cheap, and indeed they weren't. So I felt good about that. But I want to read something here from um, this is on page 418, and very sad. And I guess there were some people said they thought he turned to the Lord before he died. I don't know. I hope that is the case, obviously. But he relied a lot on channeled information. And there was a lady called Carla Ruckert, and she channeled an entity. Guess what the name of the entity was? It says the source uses the name Ra, as it once did in ancient Egypt. And here, Brian, we have again this connection, and Brian has a shot here of Ra from the Stargate. So there's these really interesting connections, but it is so disappointing. And of course, what channeled information is, a channeler opens themselves up for spirits to speak through. The Bible warns us about doctrines of devils, and this is literally what it is. So, a lot of this information, sadly, Mr. Wilcock was getting from directly demonic sources.
Well, it's interesting, David, that he spent decades mapping out all this hidden intelligence, behind reality, so to speak. And then there's a book that he also written talking about the source field and
Yeah.
his physics behind that he was relating to the physics on that, the source field, to ancient civilizations. And he was talking about like this synchronicity key, the synchronizations and all that. And these, let's just say, random, deliberate breadcrumbs leading to possibly, like we're talking about Tartarian technology, possibly free energy, ascension. We want to use the word ascension science, and
Yeah.
his work ties in like everything from what we're kind of covering tonight, with this whole raw concept. So here's my take, David. We have the raw from Stargate picture here from the raw. This was the 1994 movie to set everything off in trajectory for the SG1 series. But David, I think, and I keep hearing Billy Carson talking about that, and there's other folks out there, researchers, ufologists, saying that there's like Osiris, all these names are ancient AI. Or so are we? So have we been so configured and cognitively fried? Have we forgot that there might be something to this on a spiritual level, maybe? Or are we just saying a repackage? And these spirits are embodied spirits that they're literally mimicking things or being able to hide in things, right? They can hide in, let's just say, dream catchers, whatever you want to call it, whatever type of animate object, physical object you can get into. And are they like the genie in the bottle? Are we looking at something like that, David? And is that what David Wilcock was trying to channel and get into and look at the fringe topic, the fringe information and going to these deep, this source field of physics of these ancient antiquity, and calling forth these entities. I think that's what we're really kind of breaking it down to here, right? I mean, we're looking at something hidden, and he's bringing it forth in some method and channeling raw. Am I correct on that analysis? I mean, that's kind of where we're at, right? I mean, it's kind of interesting, and that ascension word is what we're going to be using here in a minute. The ascension, to ascend, and this Stargate show, they talk about the ancients, and they teach how to ascend. And we're not going too far into it yet, but we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But they ascend. There's an ascension phase in the Stargate SG-1 and the whole series. So that's just interesting to me, David. It's so interesting with David Wilcox, for real. So
Yeah. And I believe Osiris was an actual Nephilim. And actually, uh, Zari Hawass, and I probably said that name wrong, he actually has claimed to have found Osiris's body. And reminds me of the things in the Iraq War, of the talk of wanting to recover the body of Gilgamesh and Nimrod. Um, and of course, there's just a lot of reasons for that. But I think most definitely that this AI, it could be a medium where these spirits can actually come to life through this technology. I think that's an absolute um, possibility, and I think it's becoming more than a possibility. I think it's becoming a reality. Going to talk about something here, Mr. Wilcox said, and if this is true, this could be stuff to get someone to whack you. But here on page 413 of his book, The Synchronicity Key, and he says this. He says, as I revealed in the source field investigations, this has been witnessed, scrutinized, and investigated by Father Tissot, a Catholic priest, as well as members of the Chinese military in recent times. And it's interesting here that he ties together what I'm about to reveal to you as being under the purview of the Catholic Church and the Chinese military. Now, that's a motley crew, isn't it? It says, in each of these cases, a human being of flesh and blood is transformed into a light body and gains the ability to walk between this physical world and the afterlife. Now, what they're claiming is that human beings can actually come to the place where they are changed to the point that they can live in this world, and not only in this world, but also in the spiritual realm. Now, on page 416 of this book, he says this. He says the terms golden race and golden age are interchangeable. As I explained in the source field investigations, this appears to be a clear reference to a worldwide light body type event. And this is really just off the hook, but they're talking about a event and they reach the point where they have the quantum leap, where people are taken beyond humanity. And of course, everything is pushing this way. But Mr. Wilcock claims that there is documented 160,000 people that is documented, and he cites the Catholic priest and the Chinese military that have achieved this light body transformation. And we're not just talking about a spiritual experience where you have nirvana or whatever, but we're talking about that plus an actual change in your body. Now, Brian has a very fascinating slide here that it's talked about the Tibetan Buddhist concept of the light body. And just share that with the folks there, Brian, and put that slide up.
it's on the screen, David. The
Okay.
It's on the screen, but the rainbow thing, David, the rainbow body. We've talked about the
Yeah.
rainbow bridge here on the Stargate. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we talked about the rainbow
Yes,
bridge.
sir.
We've talked about it in many shows we've done here on the FOJC side of things. this Rainbow Trail, this Rainbow Project. I mean, David, Philadelphia Experiment, Rainbow Project. Hello out there, everybody out there in the conspiracy tinfoil hat loving folks. But this rainbow thing really got me, David, especially with the Tibetan Buddhist here with this rainbow body. Just look at that. I mean, just look at
Yeah.
the imagery on it. It's so stunning to me. I mean, really is.
Yeah. And are we at the place where what they have in store, they have something in store for humanity, and that is the actual transformation of human beings to where they are non-human. All of the transhumanists, all of the all of the junk that they're pouring into us from so many ways. This is all geared toward this quantum leap, if you will, where humanity is no more humanity. Could we be at the place where they are now achieving what they want the final destination for the human race to be? Could
Mm,
this light body, could what Mr.
mm,
Wilcock is talking about, are they now achieving this ability to where they can put human beings into this state?
mm. Well, David, here we are. You know, got me puzzled, man. Words can't even come out of my mouth. You know, with the this is just phenomenal to me because the Stargate Daniel Jackson. Okay, Daniel Jackson. We're not going to get too far ahead of it. We'll talk about it later on in the series too. But Daniel Jackson is the one that was so fixated to get the Stargate working. Okay, in 1994, he was asked to go to Cheyenne Mountain and get that thing. He wanted to be there specifically to see it open. Okay, so it's interesting that they choose him, the ancients, that he is worthy of this knowledge, that he can ascend like the ancients, no joke. And literally, you're talking about the rainbow body here, especially with the synchronicity key with David Wilcock and then this Tibetan Buddhist. We're talking about your body dissolving into pure light and literally having some type of high consciousness, like energetic technology use of, so to speak, free energy, spiritual mastering of something of the lost golden age. Well, what we have here, David, and everybody in the audience, I thought there's this word that you hear all the time: golden dome, golden
Yeah.
this, golden age. Well, did you know in that TV series to be able to achieve this, guess what you have to have? Guess what they demonstrate and show you on the show? Trauma, torture. No joke. You just hear what I said. Trauma and torture to the body. And then all of a sudden, you start giving over the body. Like there's this changing all the way up to your pineal gland or however you want to call it. And then there's this point to where you don't longer want your body and somehow you transform yourself into pure light. Just like Daniel Jackson did on the Stargate. And we talked about this many times. Can anybody out there put your hand up and look around at our society in this day and age and like real time here in May? There's a lot of trauma when it comes to mind control. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that'll get you in some bad setting of life if you let that the information coming through the airwaves. It'll wear you out mentally. It really will. So trauma. And then they have the UFO stuff. They're consciously getting us in store for some type of new knowledge, David. So just a theory here and being skeptic, or not, I said skeptic. The other day I said septic on my show, but speculative mindset.
Well, this is pretty septic too.
It is pretty septic, but speculative mindset, high consciousness, new knowledge, acknowledge these UFOs, these fallen angels, that they're here. Wow, I'm underwhelmed, right? I've said this on my channel. But what if, David, this is how they're trying to force people to give over to something else to obtain this, maybe? Maybe there's going to be selective few to get this ability? Maybe? It's just a
Yeah.
hunch, but maybe this is what the 160,000 folks that Mr. Wilcock has said in his book. What if there's this term that you hear in the ufology now and UFO community is ultra terrestrial, and what I'm hearing, ultra terrestrial is like a hybrid human, like a ascended human. This is what I'm hearing. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's what I've been hearing around the airwaves. An ultra state. alter terrestrial. So this could be something we're dealing with, David, on top of everything else. Where's the
Yeah.
160,000 folks? Where's the Tibetan Buddhists that are, where are they at? Where's these people vibrating at and going to and fro? I mean, David, there's
Mm.
so many what ifs here. So many what ifs. I mean, this is phenomenal. Wow.
And
Wow.
Mr. Wilcock links it to the Chinese military. Oh, yeah. And all of the strange things of the cities they're building with nobody in them, and so many things there. And oh boy, we just really have a lot to think about here. And what Mr. Wilcox says on page 417 of his book here, of the synchronicity key, he says it is clear that the main reason why these higher level extraterrestrials are here is to try to help as many people graduate as possible to this magnificent event. And Mr. Wilcox saw this light body transformation as a great thing. And he perceived here that and boy, here we are, it's just all about constantly talk about, and and it's just the devils and the fallen angels masquerading as these aliens, which we know and understand that here. And he actually believed that to be a part of the prophecy. He believed that the United States was going to play a key role on it. And he believed that this was a part of the prophecy that was on the dollar bill. And bless his heart, like you said, he really opened himself up to a channeler, and he opened himself up to things that he shouldn't have, and he went areas where he shouldn't have went. But he writes this on page 417. He said, therefore, the information that was planted into the Sybil of Cumae and eventually ended up in the Great Seal of the United States very likely started out as a positive message from the Confederation of Planets. Boop, boop, But I mean, it is really, it is heartbreaking when you see someone as brilliant. He was able to analyze so many complex concepts and to interpret them. The sad thing was, he was interpreting them without the word of God. And he talked a lot about the prophecy of the Kume Sibyl, which and we'll read a little bit here in a little bit. My first book I ever wrote with Donna and I was on the Great Seal of the United States, and that language there, Unet Coptus and Novus Ordo Seclorum, it comes from Virgil's Aeneid, and he took it from the Cumae Sibyl, which was an ancient pagan oracle, ancient pagan prophetess. And Mr. Wilcox believed that to be the consummation of people receiving the light body. And many writers, Manly P. Hall and Francis Bacon, who wrote of the New Atlantis, they believe that America has a special role in bringing in this transformation. And Mr. Wilcox believed that this pagan prophecy from the Cumae Sibyl that was wound up on the back of our dollar bill, that this was a part of it. And, we could be seeing um, America stepping into their special role in bringing about the New World Order.
Wow, David. I mean, this is a lot to. I even accidentally threw the slide up with the dollar bill already. I've got so
Yeah,
um this one fried me up a little bit, David, because I'm thinking I'm still
yeah,
stuck on
I bet.
this rainbow body,
Yeah.
man. This rainbow body. I just can't. I just know I've read too much. I've seen too much. I've watched too many secular movies, and my brain is just having a hard time comprehending what we're talking about tonight. I mean, it's almost it's almost like that I've heard everything under the sun. I've heard there's been shows at Coast to Coast. There's been interviews out there that there's a man that goes around with a scepter and he can live to be 600 years old. He goes to and fro and he flashes. He comes popping in and out of reality. I've heard this. And the other thing that's shocking, Dave, this is just crazy. There's this great, I think it's called Great Awakening Map. Okay. And there's that it's just blowing my mind. Okay, this came out several years ago. It had everything from the E files on it to, I mean, David Wilcock himself is on it. And they have his names. They have all these names of folks that will basically enlighten you to this different consciousness state. And you know what's this is blowing my mind because after David Wilcock, I don't have it up on the screen for the folks here watching this, but I remember specifically there's a term called solar flash, and they're claiming that this happens, and when this new one happens, that people will be lifted to a new world or be able to transition to a 4D realm or something to that level. Is this what he's referring to? The synchronicity key, this great aligning, the lining up of the planets, and you get your new light body? Because this is, and they have aerospace and all this propulsion systems. This map is gigantic. It includes Gilgamesh, Nimrod, the Anunnaki. I mean, the biblical narrative, the all the different the big all the big players that run our country and run our world. Okay, these trillionaires, all these different facets and factions of folks, aliens, UFOs, everything on this. And there's this solar flash that's supposed to happen. You hear this all the time in the New Age movement. But David Wilcock is on that Great Awakening map. And I thought that was just stunning to me just then when I thought about it. That's why I'm sitting here contemplating everything you're sharing with us on the synchronicity key. I'm really pondering, did something there's just so much here, David, so much. There's just so much. There's just so much to chew on here with this. I mean, I'm floored. I'm floored. And David, have you ever heard of the solar flash? Have you ever heard of this Great Awakening map and this solar flash? Is this what I'm puzzled. I'm stuttering here. What do we do? This is crazy. Have you ever heard of the solar flash?
And there's a lot of different people talk about this event in a lot of different ways. They talk about it when humanity will reach the point of cosmic consciousness, Christ consciousness, the time when, and literally when all of the Christians will be purged out. And I'm not talking about the rapture, and neither are they, where they're going to be literally done away with, and they have total control. And these are God haters that will be able to totally eliminate God from their mind or from the culture. They believe they're going to lose, but this is what they believe. And there are many versions of this, but ultimately there's a lot of agreement in these secret societies, pagan religions, and the New Agers that there's going to be a time when humanity will make a shift and will no longer be human. And could Mr. Wilcock, this is some crazy stuff. But if it's true, it's be something could get you killed. And Mr. Wilcock believed a lot, and he talks about the Mayan prophecies and other prophecies that he believed something really big was going to happen in 2012. And he says in Western astrology, the movement, this is from 429 of his book, he says in Western astrology, the movement from the age of Pisces into the Mayan age of Aquarius began around the end of the year 2012. The Mayan calendar end date landed on December 21st, 2012. And I remember back then everyone was all hopped up, what's going to happen when the Mayan calendar ends. And he writes here, since December 21st, 2012 came and went without any obvious transformative effects. So, when the Mayan calendar ended, nothing happened, or did it? Now, and we're going to look here at a Christian author, Mr. Tom Horn, and he evaluates some of these same issues, and we're going to look at his perspective from Scripture, and we're going to try to come to some conclusions. But I remember something similar in the area 2012 when they were talking about the Mayan calendar, that a lot of people started to go missing and were wounding up dead back then. And in that period after 2012, there was some people dying, just like now. People are talking about the all of the people connected with the UFO community that are being killed. And after we had a whole bunch of people killed, we had that global event that changed our world. Where we went through that, it was horrific, and we got dinged so much back then. We're still afraid to say the word. Other people are getting away with it, but we had so much strife and heat for talking about it. We don't want to get censored, but you know what we're talking about. So, are we leading up to another? Have we seen any indication of things in the news that we might be back for another go round? And yes, we do. And I believe that this is definitely going to be a part of the implementation of the final plan. And what we have to understand is, and we look at, you can read people like Mr. Wilcock, who is brilliant, and he analyzes pagan prophecies without the word of God. And we have to understand that pagan prophecies are pagan prophecies. The only prophecy that we can really rely on is from the Word of God. So we will go to the Word of God, and we're going to get some other opinions on just what did happen in 2012 and how a lot of the other cultures looked at it. But
Wow.
Brian, I
Wow.
think maybe something did happen in
Wow.
2012.
Wow, David. Just and people, we don't choreograph this or nothing. This is all off the cuff. We do have some bullet points and some things that we do here for slides. But David, I just had an epiphany, man. I'm sitting here. I got David Wilcock's synchronicity key on the slide, incorporated that with the Mayan calendar. You can't make this up, David. Remember what we talked about, that thing I showed you at the beginning before we started the show, and you said, when are we going to plug
Yeah.
that in? Well,
Oh, yeah. Plug it, baby.
well, look at this, David. Did you see the Mayan? Do you see the Mayan imagery on the screen?
Yes, sir.
There's 8 points.
Yes, sir. There sure is.
So, folks, so everybody's seen the Department of War, okay? A lot of people out there, it been viewed millions of times. Sorry, David, I didn't mean to interject, but I have to at this point because
Oh, yeah,
this
absolutely.
connection.
Interject.
There's 8 points here on the Mayan. We have this here, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna show you something I posted on Facebook. You're gonna love this one. This one's pretty interesting. Let me pull it up for you. So what you're looking at here, folks, at the top here, it's an imagery of one of the video. It's a screenshot of the video, and a lot of people online was talking about the Ophanum. Okay, the Ophanum. Well, when you tie in this right here, when we're looking at David Wilcock's Project Looking Glass. I was on my visual disturbance channel just the other day talking about the movie Contact with the wheels and the wheels and how it looked like an Ophanum. And then
Yeah.
you have this 8-pointed star here, this 8 points of reference here,
Yeah.
this Mayan depiction. Well, sorry, I got a little ahead of myself here. Let's go back to this imagery. So what you're seeing on the screen here, this Mesopotamian carving of the 8-pointed star of Shamash. Okay? I posted on Facebook and I said there is nothing new is happening here. It's just repackaged. And I said, welcome to the old world just coming back. So what you're seeing here at the top, you see this imagery from a still shot of the video that was released with the Pentagon videos. And also the Pentagon said, we're just going to throw this out here for folks and let y'all speculate or whatever, you come up to your own conclusion. Well, if you look at the bottom here, this Mesopotamian carving, as you can see the depictions on the screen here at the right, you see this giant looking character. On the left, you see these little servants, these little folks, right? You could say, well, it's maybe just depicting of the stature. Maybe it's just a giant in their right. Maybe it's a great leader. But you see the circle there, this 8-pointed star of Shamash. It almost looks very eerie to the Ophanum so-called depictions of the UFO phenomenon video footage. And then you have this Mayan calendar connection right here live on the show at FOJC. And I never had put that together with the Mayan account, but here I am looking at this now. and they all have similarities. So what are we looking at here? Is it just something here for entertainment, just to have some entertainment, and like, hey, look, we depicted it, we drawed it, we carved it, or is there something here that we're depicting these fallen angel knowledge, or these entities, or whoever they are, these alter terrestrials, whatever they are, and this 8 points of reference in this whole thing with David Wilcox, he is very adamant. He's talked about this many times on his anything he would do with the conventions, conferences, venues, and even his YouTube channel, all of his books. He talks about the movie Contact. He even knew some of the folks that written it and draw the producers, directors, etc. He even writes that in the Sourcefield book that he has. So, David, is this Project Looking Glass that Wilcox referred to, this 8 pointed star? What do we got here, Dave? What are we really looking at? I'm flabbergasted. What would you say here, David? Is there something that we're connecting the dots with? What's your opinion on this?
Well, Friday night I was talking about in the spiritual realm how that the host of heaven, when they would worship the host of heaven, that they would receive demonic empowerment from that association. And I think it's more than just spiritual. I think there's a point where it's also technological. When we begin to think about, well, what are these UAPs, UFOs, take your pick, that we see? And some people will say, well, they're all just spiritual. Well, we have to believe that and understand, and it's easy for us to understand, those of us that believe the Genesis 6 scenario, how that the fallen angels actually mated with human women to bring forth the Nephilim. And many of the traditions believe that the Nephilim were very much involved in the building of these megalithic structures, and used fallen angel knowledge on even where to put them. Well, now should be easy for us to believe that these Nephilim are able to build. If they can build the Great Pyramid, I mean, they could build a flying machine, let's face it.
Mm.
And a lot of times we're looking at a nut and bolt actual craft, and sometimes we're seeing a spiritual entity. We can't oversimplify it to the place where um, we can't get the full picture here.
Wow,
But
wow,
we've got
wow, David.
we've got all of this coming down on. Well, go right ahead, Brian. Go right
Well,
ahead. And
no, I'm not trying to interject and interrupt you here, but I've seen people in the chat saying, "Well, Ophanum are not an 8 point star." I absolutely understand that. I'm referring to the device of the contact, and then the 8 points of reference here on the Mayan depiction here, and then also the Mesopotamian in the 8 pointed section of what it looks like the depiction. And if you look at contact, you had the people online, Anna Paulina Luna was talking about the eyes, the Ophanum. It looks like the depictions of what it would be in Enoch in the scriptures. And you look at this, it looks like we're looking at technology, David. Like on
yeah,
Contact,
yeah,
it has magnets going around. It looks like eyes on the movie Contact.
yeah,
And you can
yeah,
see here, I know what this is in the Mayan situation, but you see a human's face, like an individual's face looking at you. Well, on the movie Contact, when they get the information from above, and the so-called aliens are given the schematics, they see a human. Like the depiction, they see a human. They're given the rough draft, the schematics to build this technological advancements to travel to the stars, to Vega. So, David, I mean, sorry to go too far down into the woods here, into the weeds, but is there something here telling us a story of how these people transcended to something else, David? Or did they communicate? Did they become a Gilberine themselves? Is this how they did it with Nimrod? Is this how they did it, David? I
yeah.
mean,
I believe that's exactly it. It says Nimrod began to be a mighty man. He wasn't born that, but he did something to transform himself. Well, that's what we're talking about, the transformation, what Mr. Wilcox talking about. We could here have the key, and that they knew back in the days of Nimrod how to make a human being non-human. And
wow.
I'm
Wow.
afraid that's what we're talking about. And back to your photo, I made the analogy that in the spiritual realm, people in the first heaven can receive demonic empowerment from the second heaven, host of heaven. And I think it's more than that, that it's technology. And
Mm,
in that 8 pointed star that you saw, as you pointed out, and that's great work there, that there was like white lines coming down from it. And I think this could very well be energy, whether frequencies, electromagnetic, or whatever, I don't know. But it looks literally like energy has been transmitted. And if you go back and look at that little star there that was by the guy there, it looked like that thing was putting off rays and energy. And it's like that symbol is sending energy to this down here. And I think this could also be, there it is again. And you can see there that there's like white lines coming down off of this. And you hear this little thing there on the table. There's a rod there by it. And then the guy's got the ring in his hand and the rod, and there's the rays coming off. The thing looks like it's emitting energy, and I think very well it's possible we've got an energy device here, be it electromagnetic frequencies, whatever. That this thing here on Earth is being energized, but that thing in the sky, not just in the spiritual realm, but also in the realm of technology.
Amen, David. And I'm sorry to interrupt you a while ago. I didn't mean to get you off your
Oh
game.
gosh,
I
no,
got
go
so
right ahead. I
excited
love
about
it.
it. I got so excited because you had these 8 point references, even the UFO video. I wish I had that pulled up, but I don't have, for sake of the video here, I didn't have that. We even added this at the last moment, 5 minutes before the video for the broadcast. So I don't have the video up, but you can watch that on at the Department of War, war.gov. You can find this video. There's a ton of files you have to go through. I can't remember what section it is in, but you can find this on X. A lot of people have been posting all over X. You can find this video footage here, and that white line that Brother David is alluding to, you should see the video in real time. It actually is making some type of it looks like plasma energy or something. There's these white lines.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, David, this could be the smoking gun to all this deal. I mean, you have 8 points here, you got 8 points there, you got 8 points at the Mayan. I mean, what are we looking at here? Looking through the glass. I mean, that's what we're looking at. We're looking through the glass. And you know that there's a song I've referenced it on my channel. They're looking through the glass, don't know how much time has passed, but it feels like forever. I mean, this is just it's crazy, right? I mean, I hate to say this. We're not trying to go down the into too far down the conspiracy road here, but there's too
I'm
many coin.
afraid we
Yeah,
already
we are.
have.
We are. We've already been chewing on the tires out there
I
outside.
think about 20 feet ago, I saw the rabbit die.
Yeah, well, Bugs Bunny's still alive, but David, we missed a slide earlier about the misread record. We could tie this all in and
Yeah.
and and really segue back to the misread record and really tie this in about this referencing of the vapor canopy.
Yes.
I
Yes. Yes.
mean,
Yes. Yes.
David, my this synchronicity key.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
are we at? Where are
Well,
we at? Where are
well,
we at?
look what we got. We've got that 8 point signature in the Mayans. We've got it in the Assyrians. We've got it in these UAPs right now overhead. We've said many times, and it looks like we're getting an energy transmission. We've said a lot of times, and we're not the only people to have said it, that in the antediluvian period, there was a worldwide civilization and a worldwide power grid with energy. Is that what we're looking at? I think so. I think so. I'll go
Wow.
ahead and say it. I think
Wow.
that's what we're looking at. And
Wow.
our theories, and we have a terrible track record about being right. We just are real bad about that. And sometimes I'd be glad to be wrong, but there's just so much of these things that it just points that way. And I see Sister Donna in the chat there, and I'm going to be saying some things here in a little bit she might want to weigh in on. And we're going to go to the misread record. And let me go real quick to our book here. And we're a little bit out of order here, Brian,
It's okay.
but I'm going to read here from our book, first book that Donna and I wrote. It's The Great Seal of the United States. And I've learned a lot since this, but this book still is not outdated. It is still, I still like it. Of course, I would, wouldn't I? But here on page 26, we are documenting the writings of Manly P. Hall, who said that America had a secret destiny. And we give 4 bullet points from Mr. Hall of what he calls the Order of the Quest. And these are the people that are dedicated to bringing in this New World Order. And of course, Mr. Wilcock, he tied this into the prophecy of the Kume Sybil on the back of the dollar bill that this will be the golden age. And this was symbolized in Mr. Hall's book by a master mason standing upon the unfinished pyramid there where the capstone would be. So we'll just give you these here. They're still very pertinent. Number one, a universal brotherhood. Number two, the perfection of man attained under the leadership of enlightened men. The supreme purpose is the perfection of man. This must come first, and when this end has been achieved, all good things will inevitably flow. Only enlightened men can sustain enlightened leadership. And I think that's what we're talking about, the final enlightenment, the light body. You see, this has all been pushing this way. Number three, for men to become as gods, knowing good and evil, called the supreme end. Number four, to a shrine to universal truth in a global democratic commonwealth. And that will be a truth that has totally eradicated, like it says in Romans, they don't even want to retain God in their knowledge. And well, let's talk about the mixed record. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what Mr. Wilcox said about the elixir of life. And this ties in a lot with what a prophecy that Donna had about the false communion and our book, The Luciferian Transmutation. But let's go here to the misread record. And we did an entire Sunday Night Live on the misread record. And I'll read here from page 7. And it says, in that work, it was maintained that a vast cloud canopy of primitive Earth vapors, such as now envelop the planets Jupiter and Saturn, lingered as a revolving deluge source in the skies of antediluvian man, a source of primeval rains, snows, and hails, competent to produce all the floods and all the glacial epochs the Earth ever saw. And what Isaac Newton Vail maintains is that the Earth was like Saturn and that it had rings of water vapor that were visible to people on the Earth, and that literally these had creatures in the water that was above the Earth, and that when the flood took place, that these rings collapsed. Now, it's very interesting here, and this is right in Brian's wheelhouse on page 84. We'll talk a little bit about the Indian mounds that are in Indian mounds. And it says here, I intended to stay in connection with my remarks on the serpent as the ancient symbol of the upper deep, that I have found the most positive proof that the mound builders and the cliff dwellers lived during the reign of the antediluvian canopy and worshiped its serpent spirit as their deity. From your understanding, and you know about as much about Indian mounds as anybody, is this spot on here, Brian?
It's so spot on that it's eerie, and the words just you just every time you read this, it stuns me every time. And all the stuff that I know about Indian mounds and rock shelters and megalithic structures, these Indian mounds are such a huge key component. I know a lot of people out there think it's not, but when it comes to teaching biblical understanding of the Genesis narrative with Genesis 6, there's giants in the earth in those days and also after that. And then you have the sons of God made with the daughters of men, the Genesis 6 narrative. They forcefully took wives they chose in some cases, and then they bore giants. So not only does this ring a bell, but the cover up with this is just like the Tartarian cover up. So if they covered up Tartarian, they definitely covered up any kind of, if the Earth had Saturn's rings on it once upon a time that looked like rainbow trails all around, and there was mythical creatures or what have you in these ancient cave dwellers or whatever, when it comes to the demiurge or the deluge or however you want to call it, of time of the Denisovians, there's something here, David, that is just it's there in your face. We have partial mounds that's been partially excavated. We have full full excavations, and there's some to this day in Kentucky alone that have not been excavated. I've looked at the topography. I've screamed to the hilltops. I need help with it. I need some kind of archaeologist to help me excavate them or get permission to do anything, shape, or form. I'm just some guy from Kentucky that's figured out the keys. But the problem is, David, there was some type of cataclysm after cataclysm after cataclysm. And I say this, I think some of these giants, I think, David, that they had something to do with their anatomy. Like they had some type of frequency that was dangerous. The reason why I say this is because I've read so much documentation about giants being basically excavated and pulled out of mounds, and there's been evidence of folks being sick after the folks literally do the excavation, get the tibia out, they get sick. So I'm wondering if it's tied back to this vapor canopy, if there's some type of chemical compound, something that has been buried, and maybe they deliberately buried them in some cases because they thought that people was getting sick. But I have a lot more to say about that, where they buried them with the sickle over their neck, they buried them with javelins all in on their neck and everything else because they couldn't get the giants down, because they had to decapitate them, like the depiction when it comes to the biblical narrative with David and Goliath. So when I'm looking at all this, David, I can speculate all day long, but I think it's tied to nuclear. I think there's a nuclear signature. When you hear about nuclear signatures, I think it's the same residence. And I bet you, if you had the technology to the radiation levels, I bet you we have similar things with the giants of old. There's just too much information. People was getting sick and they had radiation sickness, even if they dug through the soil to get into the mounds. So there's something there, David, and I think it ties back to what you're referring to in the misread record. I really truly do, David. I think they hid themselves. There was all this different. There was cataclysm. There was different things with the airwaves. There was different with the atmosphere, the climate, the breathing. I mean, David, this is the whole bag. It's right here. I mean, there has to be something to it. Mud floods, the vapor canopy, it's all directly tied. Rainbows, it's all tied. It's directly tied to it. I mean, this is phenomenal. Every time you read it, it gets me every time. It gets me every time.
And maybe that's why that to this day in the state of Kentucky and other places, there are serpent mounds that they don't want to admit exist. We know about the Serpent Mound in Hamilton County, Ohio, a marvelous, marvelous site. There are serpent mounds right near Brian's home that the state of Kentucky won't acknowledge in the historical record. Now, why is that? And could it be, Brian, that the presence in mounds and megalithic sites of things like mica and mercury, could they have something going on like we saw in that eight figure? Could they have been receiving or transmitting energy? Why would we have uh, mica and mercury in Indian mounds?
And what people don't realize is mica is in our electronics. It's used in AVAC systems. It's used in technology. Think about it. There you
Yeah.
go. Technology involvement. Why? And they claim that it's for installation. For the. I was like, why would you do that? Why would you put mica and lay it? Yeah, we're putting a little insulation so we can keep the body a little fresh, a little fresher along the way, so we can maybe bring it back. Hello out there, but it's just kind of interesting to me, David, that is all. That's, you can tie that. You can look at that, and there's prominent evidence of that all throughout Kentucky. Mica is literally, there's huge samples of mica all throughout the mountains of Kentucky. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I don't even know what to say. It's like we almost have a cosmological stance. These angels, these entities, all they worship sun worship, all this involvement with the cosmos, the Mazzaroth, and they're not worshiping the King. They're not worshiping Jesus, and literally they're literally finding burial significance where it's a longitude, latitude, right down to the millimeter of understanding the centimeter. They're strategically laying these individuals directly tied to cosmological stance. You can't make that up either. That's legitimate. So this is phenomenal, David. This stuff gets me to a point to where it's like we're not in Kansas anymore. This is kind of going back to earlier when he was talking about the planetary situation, and that we're some type of connection with the ley lines and connectivity of all that nonsense. And here at FOJC, we believe in the biblical cosmology. Okay, folks. A lot of people are
Yeah,
saying, what does FOJC stand for? We still stand
yeah,
for the doctrine of Jesus Christ, folks. We're just literally
that's right.
unraveling. We're unraveling these conspiracies. Well, and in some shape or form, there's some truth to this stuff. And me and David are just trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And I think that we're way out there in the weeds, David. I mean, and we're slippery sloping now, but I just think that it's all directly tied to spiritual entities. And I think that's what you said earlier. These serpent mounds, they don't want you looking into it because you'll find it.
Yeah,
You'll figure it
yeah,
out. You'll be like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. You'll be like, hello, there it is. This is why the Native Americans, this is what they was doing. They was fighting these beings. They was directly tied to the star people, whatever it is. And there was significance for them to bury them the way they buried them. I mean, it's just, David, I could talk about this topic all day long. We don't have enough time for that. But the misread record always gets me every time. And the whole Saturn's rings. And here we go, David. There's speculation online right now with these UFOs. They're claiming, just hear me out. I don't believe this. They're claiming the Earth is a large ophanum. They're claiming that Earth is a large ophanum. Well, if you tie this to misread record and the Saturn's rings, that's kind of scary. I mean, I'm just saying. But what I'm getting at on a smaller scale, you have these orbs, UFOs, all this ufologists out there saying we have direct connection with the rings, the wheels and the wheels. Ezekiel talks about it. The fiery chariots talk, in the biblical narrative. It's all there. There's nothing else. This is all nothing new. This is nothing new. This is all old stuff. But we're playing catch up, and it's so concerning. It's so concerning, and I don't want to get too far into this topic, but when we have individuals, I'm going to be really calm in how I approach this topic. But when the pastors right now are bringing this information to the folks, okay, and they had these meetings and saying, prepare your folks, prepare your flock, because something's coming. What they're going to reveal is going to change all the dynamic of our society. Well, what me and Davis talked about through this whole show would more than likely change the dynamic of our society. But we've been talking about this for a long, long, long time. And out of respect to those individuals, we should have been preaching and talking about this at the pulpit like they did back in the 1800s, and talking about the Amorites, the Zimazus, the Hittites, all these different Nephilim giants at the pulpit back in the day in the 1800s. You can prove that. They was teaching the spiritual applications. They was teaching the biblical narrative the way it was in the Genesis 6 narrative. They was preaching that there was creatures and mythical creatures that used to roam the earth, and the pterodactyls, whatever it was, mastodons, all these different things that you see on Jurassic Park. They was, well, not really Jurassic Park, but you get my drift. But they was preaching it, and now here we are in a fairy tale land in 2026, and we're going to just say, well, we don't know what these things are. Yeah, we know what they are. There's demons, there's hybrid humans, we got everything. We got extraterrestrial, terrestrials, we got giants, demons, angelic powers, human involvement. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. We can't just say it's all demonic. It is all demonic. Well, there is a demonic nature to everything because it's hidden. It's occultic. It's a cult. It's hidden. But the thing is, there is other factions. There's good angels. Okay. Okay. I got to give some credit here. There's good angels,
Oh yeah.
and Jesus has the reins. Okay. So it's real. We're way out there. Sorry I went long winded, but David, do you think I hit any of the nails on the head there? You think I think
Well, yeah, I
yeah.
think you absolutely did, Brian. And I look at this thing where the government has to tell the pastors to warn the people. Isn't that pathetic? They should have already been warning the people. We've been warning the people for a long time. And what's even more pathetic is if any of these people do warn their people, after they warn them, they're going to preach a sermon on the pre-trib rapture, where they're going to be raptured out and don't have to worry about it. It's pathetic. Maybe we could get the government to try to tell the pastors to stop teaching some of their fairy tale false doctrines. That would help too, and maybe start walking in some real obedience to the word of God. It is just pathetic, absolutely pathetic. And I saw someone early on that asked the question, I think they made a comment. It says, I'm assuming everyone here's a flat earther. Well, I know I am. I know Brian is. Or if you want to be fancy, you can say biblical cosmology. Or if you just want to use a little Southern Indiana, Kentucky slang, call me a flat earther. I don't care. But my Bible hadn't changed. So my view on biblical cosmology, we do stand strong for that here at FOJC. And at our upcoming event, August 13th and 14th in Shelbyville, Kentucky, Mr. Joe Caruso is going to be giving a presentation on biblical cosmology. That is something we do stand for, and that is one of our distinctives here at FOJC. Anybody in the chats of Flat Earther, give us a shout out if you believe that in biblical cosmology, like Brother Brian and I do, and Brother Dan, and the folks here at FOJC. Give us a little shout out there. Now, we're going to talk a little bit um, about, I
I
said we're going to go look at Tom
forgive me,
Horn. So
David.
you have something
Yeah,
else,
Tom.
Brian?
No, you have Tom Horn's book. I interrupted you earlier. Is that where he was going? You have Tom
Yeah,
Horn
I'm going
that
to
you
go to
yeah. Can you,
Zeitgeist
well, no,
2025,
you
and
did
then
the
we'll.
Zenith 2016 Zenith. You didn't do that one, did you? You didn't talk
No,
about
and
that
I
because
don't
I
think I even
okay.
talked about
Yeah.
this 2025. We're a little out of order
Yeah,
here,
it's my
but
fault. I apologize.
well,
That's my fault.
I'm jumping around too. That's okay. Well, we'll get it in here. But Mr. Horn analyzes. There's a in David Wilcock. He goes through a lot of the Mayan prophecy and other things that pointed to something happening in 2012, and I believe it did. I believe it did. I believe a gear was shifted in 2012, setting things in motion. And Mr. Horn, in his book, this is Zeitgeist 2025 on page 305, um, he says Anuit Coptus, and we're talking again about the backside of the dollar bill. He says Anuit Coptus is from Virgil's Aeneid. Charles Thomson, designer of the Great Seal's final version, condensed line 625 of Book 9 of Virgil's Aeneid, which reads Jupiter omnipotos, and it's Latin, I'm not even going to try it. He says it means all powerful Jupiter favors the daring undertakings to Anuit Coptus. He approves our undertakings. While the phrase Norvos Ordo Seclorum, a new order of the ages, was adapted in 1782 from inspiration Thomson found in a prophetic line in Virgil's Eclogue, Volume 4. The interpretation of the original Latin being, and the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew. The phrase is from the Cumaean Sibyl, who was an absolute pagan goddess of the demonic god Apollo. It says, according to the prophecies, this is Apollo, son of Jupiter Zeus, who returns to earth through mystical life given to him from the gods of the deity Saturn Jupiter, where we had the water rings, remember that, returns to reign over the earth in a new pagan golden age. And Mr. Horn and us, we would agree that this is talking about the reign of the beast. This is when the beast is going to bring in the new world order, but it's not going to last. No, it ain't going to end up like they think. The beast will have control for a while, but it's not going to end up good for him. And even during that time, there's going to be a sealed remnant in their forehead that they're not going to be able to shoot their juice to. Now, we'll look at a few more things here. It's interesting. Mr. Wilcock and Mr. Horn looked at a lot of the same material, but from different aspects. Mr. Horn from the Christian perspective, and of course, Mr. Wilcock from the non Christian perspective. But there was a lot of prophecies. And Mr. Horn, this is on Zenith 2016 on 369. He says the Mayans predicted this conjunction, interpreting it as a harbinger of the end of the world as we know it and the beginning of a new era. While the Maya were not alone among ancient cultures in this regard. For instance, the Hindu Kali Yuga calendar started approximately during the Mayan fifth great cycle and also predicted global earth changes following the year 2012. Now, here we go. All hands on deck, Brian. For instance, the Cherokee rattlesnake prophecies, also known as the Chickamauguan prophecy or the Cherokee star constellation prophecies, are part of a series of apocalyptic prophecies made by members of the Cherokee tribe during 1811 to 1812. The prophecies are very similar to the Mesopotamian, or excuse me, the prophecies are very similar to the Mesoamerican belief and are viewed by scholars as likely returning to the return of Quetzalcoatl in 2012 to 2016. Like the Maya, the Cherokee calendar ended mysteriously in the year 2012. Now, and I know the answer before we ask it. Do do we have here in the Cherokee rattlesnake prophecy and the Nanahe? Do we have here of them fitting within this global antediluvian network and of them having contact with that supernatural realm, not only from above but also from the heart of the earth? What do we got here, Brian?
I think you mentioned the Nanahe, right?
Yes, sir.
The um, the story of the Nanahe is so compelling to me. And then you have the rattlesnake, you have the serpentine worship, like we always have known for a long time, back dated back to the Garden of Eden. The antiquity stance. And I'm thinking circular, but I'm also thinking about the Nanahe was the immortals that lived forever, and they once was human. And we could tie that back to what we was talking about with the Stargate SG-1 and um, what's his name? My mind's slipping here. Forgive me, folks. But Daniel Jackson. Daniel Jackson ascended to this ascended mass, this ascended ancients, like this technology to ascend from his fleshly body to a light body. And it kind of goes back with the synchronicity key with David Wilcock. So the Nanahe, there's good Nanahe and bad Nanahe. Just like the seraphim and the cherubim, you can go into the hierarchies of everything. And when I thought about the Nanahe, they are portrayed as light beings. They do show up as light beings, David, and they claim to be human. They're claimed to be used to be human. So, David, there's a connection right there through this whole broadcast about the 160,000 folks supposedly that's been transitioned to this light body that David Wilcock was talking about. So there's a connection. And the Nanahe is they are territorial, and they still supposedly live in the Americas here. There's a lot of information about that where they are territorial. They roam around. They do not like when there's women and children being mistreated, and that's the Nunnahy, man. That's the Nunnahy concept. So if there's Zenith 2016, this book of Tom Horn, I'm sitting here just rattling off when you said Nunnahy. That's where I'm focusing on, David, the light body. And I don't know, my friend.
Yes,
This
sir.
is so this is a very interesting FOJC. This is kind of so, but the Nunny concept to me, David, that could fit with this whole synchronicity key and this Zenith 2016. It's just strange stuff, man. And it's portals and gateways to other realms, astral projecting, you name it, man. This is this is like you would say a Hootie Bob broadcast.
On page 428, synchronicity keyboard, here, there's so many of these concepts that each and every one of them we've done a lot of entire broadcast on. But David Wilcock wrote on 428 of Synchronicity Key. Again, I read all of this in 1996. It took several more years for me to find scientific proof that the universe is made of living conscious energy that behaves like a fluid and vibrates. Hello, Tesla. Hello, the Vril. Hello, the prana. This is the ancient concept, and I believe that uh, the basic concepts of Tesla are true, and that these have been buried in the public fool system to where people are not being taught the truth. And that there, I do believe there is a medical and a scientific elite that plays and understands things differently than what they're teaching people in the classroom. But this is something, there's so many things here that just connect in so many ways. On page 405 here, the synchronicity key, um, Mr. Wilcock talks about something, and this harkens back, Donna might want to weigh in on this in the chat, um, to a prophecy that she had concerning the false communion. And we have taught and believed that for a long time. And it makes so much sense, and it makes much more sense now that when the false prophet takes over, that there will be a false communion that people will have to ingest. And I believe this is exactly what Mr. Wilcox here is referring to. This is on page 405. And he says this, um, it could be that everyone who takes up their own quest for the ancient elixir of immortality finds themselves in the book. And this is the book of the chosen, the book of those in the golden age. And there's something they have to drink, the elixir of immortality. Well, there's been so many versions of this, and this has been something from let me see. I've got Mr. Gardner's book here somewhere. Oh, here it is, right here. And we've talked a lot about the star fire. And excuse me, this is disgusting, but I think we need to hear it. It says the original. This is from Lawrence Gardner, Realm of the Ring Lords, on page 118. The original starfire nectar of Mesopotamia, often called the plant of birth, was fed to the kings of the early Grail bloodline until about 1960 BC. The menstrual flower was the designated flower. Menstruum contains the most valuable endocrinal secretions, particularly those of the pineal and pituitary glands, which heighten the qualities of intuition. And it is believed and understood by these secret societies for a long time that drinking this starfire would stimulate the pineal gland and give them enhanced psychic abilities. Well, now there are reports that in human sacrifice, not only um, are they consuming the blood, but they're consuming the pineal. Uh, this is disgusting, but we're talking about the devil here, folks. We're talking about the prophecies in the Word of God where um, Satan, for a while, is going to have his man who will be a transhuman ruling the world. And I believe this is the prophecy of the false communion, and that everyone that takes this, you're gone. You're gone. Send your saddle home, John. And that's why, me and mine, we're not going to allow things to be put in us that could mess with the genetics. It's real serious. It's a real serious place and time we're at. And I think right now we're looking at things that we're coming to the end of time. We're coming to the place where we can see how we know what the Bible says, and now we can look out and see the way these things are going to be fulfilled. And I just think that's where we're at, Brian. And I'm like you, this stuff just blows me away. It's amazing that we're here seeing the things that we're seeing. And it really is a privilege to be able to serve God in this time and place. And we just want to say that for anyone there that does not know Jesus, you can know him right now. Don't go through this nonsense without him. Repent and believe the gospel. If you've been into New Age practices, that you've opened up that third eye, you've opened up a demonic portal into your mind. Repent, renounce, and in the name of Jesus, close that third eye and pray for God to cleanse that pineal gland and to open up that pure communication between you and the Lord. That's where we're at. It's not, I mean, don't put it off any longer. There's people that they think, well, maybe someday I'll serve God. Listen, right now, it's right now. It's getting serious. And any time is serious because none of us know whether we'll wake up in the morning when we lay our head down. Now is the time to repent and believe the gospel. And if you do, I want you to write Donna and I. Write us a letter at Post Office Box 671, Tell City, Indiana 47586. Write us and let us know the decision you make for Jesus Christ. We'd love to hear that. And, Brian, this broadcast tonight has just blown me away. I just really feel an urgency and an intensity. I feel like when we're sitting here tonight talking about these things, we are literally a part of biblical prophecy being fulfilled.
Absolutely. I think I'm in full agreement. It's essential to not lean on your own understanding because guess what? We are fallen beings. We're in a fallen state. It doesn't take much to manipulate us, and that's a scary part. But when you think about what Christ did at the cross at Golgotha, you think about all of his teachings and the parables, those sacred words that he blessed us with in the biblical stance. It's the best thing to have in the instruction manual to go to this cesspool of serpentine worship, AI worship, demigod worship, whatever type of worship you want to throw into it, and especially this whole light being concept. David, I just will say this: I think they're trying to mimic when you hear about the ascended masters. They're trying to mimic what our Lord and Savior did when he
Yeah.
came to the disciples and showed up and he had light. Is that you, Lord? Doubting Thomas, and he had the where he got stabbed, and then he had the hose in his hands, and he's lighting up. You have this. They're trying to mimic and do nefarious things to replicate that, and this is what we're referring to tonight with this whole light body concept. It's really strange, and that's where I take it to. And Christ already done the groundwork. All we got to do is finish the race. All we got to do is finish the race. And speaking of finishing the race, I got to give a shout out to somebody. I've been a little rusty during this program, if y'all haven't noticed. A little rusty at the beginning. Absolutely, I was. I hate to put myself down, but I was. I have a family member that I care a lot about. I don't know if he's watching this show or not, but I just want to give a big shout out to my Uncle Willie. He's like a father to me and a brother, and he was there whenever my dad was passing there a few months ago. But Uncle Willie suffered a pretty, let's just say he suffered a stroke. Okay, so Uncle Willie is like one of my best friends. Let's just say that. Okay, and he's like a dad to me. And I've been like having that on my mind tonight, and I'm a little rattled mentally. So it's been really hard to do this broadcast, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd really tried to really push, and especially with all the dental things I had going on this week and everything. I really pushed it, David. But a big shout out to brother Willie. I love you, man, and I hope if you're listening to this, I pray you get better and get out of the hospital. He's going through a lot. He's got some vision issues, language barrier. It's been pretty heavy. Okay, so I've had a pretty last few days has been kind of rough. Knowing that my Uncle Willie, I can't help him. I feel helpless. So I've been kind of playing that in my mind. The devil's been trying to get in my head. So forgive me for the stuttering and everything like that. It was kind of, I think I overcome it to a certain degree, but thank you for hanging in there with us at FOJC and staying here with us and communicating with us in the chat. And even though sometimes it was negative, I love the negativity and the positivity, but I appreciate your all's love and support. And big shout out to my Uncle Willie, and I hope he's doing good. And shout out to his wife, Sandy. They need your prayers, and their son, Caleb, but they need your prayers because he is literally in the hospital right now. And they're trying to figure out really what's going to happen with the future plan. If he's not getting any better, he's actually getting worse. So just pray for him if you get an opportunity. And big shout out to him. I get really emotional about it because he's like he's done a lot for me since all this stuff that's happened to me with my infirmities. So he's always been there for me, and just big shout out to him. So there you go. I didn't want to I had to do a shameless plug there, Brother David, but big shout out to him. And shout out to all walks of life here. If you enjoy this content, this program on the Stargate, looking through the Stargate, because me and Brother David love this series. It's very intuitive and very informative, and especially, and the most important thing, a lot of people in the chat was giving us a lot of flack. And what does FOJC stand for? What are we standing for? I think they was referring to either we followers of Jesus Christ, what it represents, and then also what we stand for is what we just said. We stand for Christ, and we stand for what's true. And we're in the ditch right now, trying to fight the powers that be and the wickedness of this world. And I would say that me and David, like David said, the urgency David. I feel the urgency too. There's a supernatural wave going across the airways. There's this great shift of changing. You can feel the discernment. You can feel it. And I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint what it is. I think we're getting hit with every angle that you've ever seen in your life. And I think we are living in the days of Noah 2.0. And anybody out there wants to disagree with that or fight us on it, what have you, it's not here to spread fear. I like a good conspiracy. I like to talk about a wide variety of things. I can go way out there. I can go down some big rabbit holes. But at the end of the day, there's just things that I won't deviate from, and that is to serve the King, serve Christ. So that's what this channel is all about, and that's what me and Brother David are continue to do until the the great flash, the great solar flash, David, or whatever's going to happen. So I'll
Yeah.
give the floor back to you, Brother David. Thank you so very much for letting me be part of it, the co-hosting here, and I went long-winded there. But that's my last closing words. And I hope you guys just have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Sunday evening. And thank you for being here with us. I humbly mean that. Thank you so very much for giving support to David and Donna at this channel. And big shout out to Donna too. I wish we could get you out of there, Donna. I'm praying real hard, and I pray for your full recovery too. So big shout out to all those folks. And thank you so very much, you all. And David, thank you. And I'll give the floor back to you, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I want to say too that I've been with Uncle Willie on a couple of occasions, and he's a fine man and a fine brother, and he certainly has our prayers and the prayer of the body. And let's do a little Carrico crush here. Let's do a little Carrico crush, and let's just send those likes through the roof that we can help us with their algorithm. So if you were blessed by the broadcast tonight, and if you believe in the vision that the Lord has given us here at FOJC and Visual Disturbance, on the count of three, hit that like button. One, two, three, boom. Thank you so much for that. And we just want to say that I'll give your address here. If you would like to write Donna and I, you can do so at Followers of Jesus Christ, Post Office Box 671, Tell City, Indiana 47586. And we very much appreciate each and every one of you that prays for us, that studies with us, and that supports us with your gifts and with your kindness. We do appreciate it from the bottom of our heart. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. And if you haven't subscribed to Visual Disturbance, please do so. It helps us to be able to do what we do. And with that, with the greatest thanks to our Lord and Savior and to all of you that were a part of the broadcast this evening, a big high five and good night, everybody. From FOJC Radio Sunday Night Live, we'll see you next week. God bless you all.